Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this, the February 5th, 2026 Police and Public Safety Committee meeting. I'm going to start by taking attendance. We have Councilmember Brennan, Supervisor Cassidy Dorian, myself, Deputy Chief Twitty, Town Clerk Michelle Martinelli. We have a PBA representative, Dustin Spataro is here. Chief Bennett from District 1 is here. Confidential Secretary Kelly DiArpino is here. And we have Miss Carla Duggle, is that correct? From Complete Streets here?
Yeah.
And we have Mr. Frank Sill in the comptroller's office. All right, so since we don't have a quorum, we're not going to do a motion and we're going to table the minutes. Operationally, I just left it on there. Dog complaints, we talked about it last meeting with regards to town code and fees. This is ongoing. We talked about getting together with town attorney Finnan to come up with language to have increased fees for repeat offenders, essentially, loose dogs at large. It's something that is just ongoing. Continued discussion with town attorney Finnan on this, and then we'll put something forward in the committee to decide what the best strategy is to handle this. Under fleet and equipment, our patrol vehicle outfitting, we did purchase, that was passed by resolution, Metro Ford won the mini bid. We're getting 2 new Explorers to replace in the patrol division, a regular rotation. We're going to need a resolution to upfit these vehicles. The total amount through Bearcom, which we had done a request for a proposal, and they had won that, including this year, is going to be $29,791.20. As a part of that discussion, I just want to bring it up out loud. We realize that some of the equipment inside of the patrol vehicles, we don't need to cycle out. And rather than just decommission equipment that we think we can get one more life cycle out, we're going to transition some of that equipment over to the new vehicles. And that's why the upfitting cost is where it is. And we're hoping to use those monies as the next bulletin under fleet and equipment. So our dog truck, and I don't remember what year it is, 2012? Yeah, 5 years ago, our mechanic said you don't have a lot of life left in this truck. It's a very old vehicle. It doesn't have heat and air conditioning in the back where we transport the animals. Sometimes we're having to transport these animals great distances. So one of the things Lieutenant Fernie apologizes for not being here. He's not feeling well. That Lieutenant Fernie has been working on with Bearcom is to come up with a concept where we take one of our decommissioned vehicles from this rotation and we upfit it as an animal control vehicle. Bearcom has a kennel specific for Ford vehicles that they are willing to essentially give us.
We'll take it.
Right.
Thanks.
So this is how this all came together. Obviously, we have to pay for the upfitting and the striping and all that good stuff, but it's sort of a deal that's too good to be passed up on. And then there would be appropriate climate controls and everything else for that. So I don't have that quote yet. Once I get that quote, I'll get that to everybody to talk about. 2 things I had to add additionally after I put out the agenda: the surplus of police vehicle. We have a police vehicle from last year that was decommissioned. We just need to do a resolution to surplus one of our decommissioned Explorers. And also a purchase of a traffic trailer. We had a traffic trailer that Sergeant Munger had built from Harbor Freight on some grant monies from a couple of years ago through, I believe it's through the Niskayuna Community Foundation. And we had retrofitted a sign. I got to give a shout out to Officer Josh Wyman for helping with that process as well. A speed sign that we had that collected data. Well, unfortunately, this traffic trailer was struck by one of our residents. And we worked through the process with the comptroller's office, Ms. Kara Parks, and assisted us with this to go through the striking vehicle's insurance to recoup money to then hopefully purchase a new trailer. The money that we got back as of today, Frank notified me, was $7,749.26. The new All Traffic Solutions, which is the same trailers that we've been purchasing previously. It's a little different. It's not the billboard sign. It's more just the speed and radar sign. That cost through that company is $9,541.24. So what we're going to do is take the insurance money, add some of our already budgeted money from our 2000 equipment line to that to purchase a brand new trailer. That's going to have to go through the finance based upon the fact that it's less than $10,000, and the comptroller's office is aware of that to put on the agenda for you folks to vote on that during finance government meeting. Under building, I talked to town supervisor and also Chair Jessica Brennan. We have a floor in our PD on the first floor that is our hallway that goes out to our parking lot, our vestibule, and our booking area. We do walk folks that are in custody through it. It's been in disrepair for a little while. There's tiles missing. We've covered them with carpets. But we wanted to get a quote to see what we could do to replace this hallway floor. We went through, again, I have to get a shout out to Tony Lento from the school district, who gave me this vendor that's on state contract, D&D Flooring. They came in to give us a quote for this. It's $4,599.73. I did talk to Charlie Bergami about this. I showed him the types of floors to make sure that, this is the material that would be appropriate and it would last. And the one thing he said was we should just get one more quote. So he gave me an information about Schenectady Flooring on who the point of contact is there. So I'm going to get a second quote just to see where we're at in the ballpark. Under training, Officer Thomason will be attending intermediate crash management at the Warren County Sheriff's Department from February 16th through the 20th. This is a 3-part series. He did the preliminary one, does intermediate, and then he does the advanced, and that will certify him as a crash reconstructionist, which is awesome because he's in our traffic and community engagement division. Under citizen correspondence, I didn't have anything. Did anybody else have any citizen correspondence that they wanted to talk about at all?
I guess I should mention this, maybe. We talked a little bit in Highway and Parks this morning that I didn't realize this, but somebody had hit the Avon Crest sign before it snowed. Did you know this?
I didn't know that they'd actually struck the sign. I knew there was a crash.
We sort of had a funny conversation about whether or not we would be on the hunt for more lions, or if we would. I guess some of the people that have lived in that neighborhood turned around a little bit as far as like selling and purchasing houses, and they may be interested in upgrading that sign. So I bring that up just because we didn't talk about it and I didn't even realize it had been hit. That was something we discussed in Highway. And then there was one other thing, but I can't remember.
The town owns that sign? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's a very weird gray area because it was, like when they create like a subdivision or a neighborhood, they get like a piece of land to put the sign on. I think over time we've adopted some of them, but we don't necessarily have in our budget or even in our code anymore that says we're going to replace signs that are damaged, because they don't really make signs like, they don't make monument signs like that anymore. They make like, like it's just like a wooden whatever that's not going to be, but something like that's really expensive to fix. It got hit, like 7 or 8 years ago, and they fixed it then, but I don't even remember how they paid for it. I think the town ended up paying for it, but it was.
Well, we can get the crash report and just go through their insurance company.
I think the insurance company had been reaching out to us, but the question was like, are we putting in the same, like, are we fixing the lions or are we putting in something else? So I only mentioned that because I didn't know, and since it is a relative street related thing, just throw it out there. Okay. I had something else too, but I don't remember. If I remember, I'll throw it out there. It must not have been that important.
I was going to add it to that. Sergeant Munger and I met with a group of residents a couple weeks ago. They had questions about our license plate readers, the process of how it goes from committee to finance to the board. They had questions about how we obtain information, how we retain information, how subpoenas work with license plate reader information through the police department. So we were able to answer all their questions, I believe, get them follow-up information for questions we couldn't answer. So they're going to reach back out if they have more questions. But that was a very productive conversation, and it was nice to meet with people face to face and be able to have those discussions like we used to do.
Yeah,
the old days.
I brought it up actually today. We had a countywide chiefs meeting. So there is a lot of dialogue and concern about in the current state of the country we live in with regards to federal agencies having access to local agencies' data, specifically through LPRs, cameras, and other things. And one of the things that was on later on in our agenda was a vigilant MOU for the Crime Analysis Center. I'm actually taking that off the agenda. So this was our Crime Analysis Center was looking to take all of the LPR data from all the different agencies, because we use different vendors, and centralize it into a searchable database. And they were using a third party to do that. And the MOU, after speaking with Tom Attorney Finnan about it, it was very vague, and there weren't a whole lot of protections for retention, who that information was being shared with, etc. I spoke with the head of the Crime Analysis Center, Todd Weiss. He was great. After I proposed my questions, he unilaterally withdrew the MOU from all the agencies based upon those questions, because there's another way to do this without that MOU that we would have nothing to do with. So yes, but under complete streets, Carla, did you want to talk at all about anything?
Yeah, no. Bill is down in Florida right now, and he asked me to attend the meeting for him and give you an update on our e-bike discussions that we had both in the comp plan, transportation subcommittee meeting, and the Complete Streets meeting on February 2nd. Jim Levy actually came up with a good idea. He suggested a public education campaign as a useful next step, which could take the form of a public meeting where we educate the residents about e-bikes. We could incorporate information from the New York State fact sheet, which includes the benefits, a description of different classes, e-bike classes, and New York State laws that govern them. Bill also talked about how we can use the New York Times article, The E-Bike Dilemma, which I believe he distributed at the last meeting, to highlight the increased danger from e-bikes. In this article, documented research showed that injuries are far more serious than those sustained on conventional bikes, yielding higher numbers of pelvic fractures, fatalities, and head injuries. Maddie, our high school committee member, is also collecting information about e-bikes to share with the Complete Streets Committee. She mentioned PE classes as an opportunity to educate students about e-bike laws and safety. And Bill was also suggesting that Complete Streets could also potentially form a subcommittee to explore e-bike usage in the town. He told me to look at last month's public safety meeting, and it looks like you guys had a very good discussion about e-bikes and had great ideas to educate the public about the e-bike laws and suggested some rules that could apply to the town. I know you mentioned you kind of want to keep it within the county, first start with the county. I believe you mentioned something about that. And I don't know if you wanted to go into more discussion right now, or you pretty much.
So Jessica and I had spoken about this again, because recently Sergeant Munger sent me some literature. So it appears as though New Jersey has now legislated where they're requiring licensing, helmets, registration, and insurance on e-bikes. Okay. And I only brought this to Jessica because we've been talking about what the best approach is to take on this. There was an update done, I believe it was last year, through DMV, that we are now required as police officers to do a crash report, an official crash report on e-bikes through the track system. So one of the things I said to Jessica is, well, if New Jersey's doing this, is it possible that we're not even aware that New York is about to do something?
That's a possibility.
And so Jessica and I talked, and Jess, I don't know if you speak this, Jess was planning on reaching out to, some state senators and things of that nature to really see if there's something in the pipe, because what we don't want to do is create local rules and laws that now contradict or aren't in line with something that may come through the state.
So Association of Towns is on their legislative agenda. So I'll make sure I can find out from them who it is who's interested in it and they're pitching it to, because I know that's on their list. So that typically means there might be something, but it's probably not fully baked yet. So then maybe you could go right to the people working on it.
Yeah, I actually talked to Dustin Reedy yesterday from the state ledge, and he said they are in caucus today. So he's going to run it by their administration and see if anyone's talking about it. So we didn't want to recreate the wheel and put a lot of time and energy into figuring out what would be best for our town if the state the next day is going to come down and give us direction. And he said he's going to run it by Paul Tonko's office too, just in case federally they're looking at this topic. So he said he'd circle back to me tomorrow or so and let us know so we can move
Great.
forward.
We also brought it up in the SRO, touch point that we did. And I can't remember, I think they said something about freshman orientation, maybe doing something at that point so that the parents of 14 and 15-year-olds know that it's like a no-go. Like, don't send your kid to school freshman year with the e-bike. You got to wait, it's 16 and up, and here like giving them the basics, right? So maybe we should follow up on that too. I can't remember where we landed with that, whether we're supposed to reach back out to them or what.
I can just have Brennan and Ian talk about it. and
Okay.
listen.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Does that make sense?
That's very helpful. Yeah. Thank you.
Carla, did you have anything else before?
No,
No?
I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh, actually, he did actually, he mentioned to bring up the school zones too. I think you discussed that at the last meeting as well, and you were talking about something about Rosendale Road, I believe, right? Or,
That has been a previous discussion, yeah.
and Craig's school, but
Yeah, the Craig School one is a much heavier lift.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
I have
like,
seen the report for that, so yeah.
theoretically, Center Road could be made a school zone, and that we would control, but Balltown Road is through the state, so that's something completely different and unique.
Vernova has them looking at potentially putting a traffic light at Riley Way. This is years out, but since it's in that corridor, we probably should bring it up at the same time. That way, if they're doing change, they're thinking about that and they're already doing the studies, they can include whatever study they need to do there in it. I just need to be reminded of that. I don't remember what the cadence was they were talking. I think they're going to wait until they get that sign, that monument sign that's going to be in front of the planning board. They're going to wait until they see how that pans out. And then they're building it in such a way that would leave room for a traffic light there.
Under town events, all I had was the Coffee with a Cop, which is the third Tuesday monthly down at the Senior Center. Please come see us. I left the ongoing discussion under town clerk just about the food trucks. I know there's a lot of different discussions about those things. I don't know if anybody wants to speak to that or if we can just leave it as ongoing at this point.
I think we're tackling, because we have this like food truck idea at Flatnick, where the transfer station used to be. We're starting with that, only because it's a little bit more urgent than the actual food truck piece of it. But it'll become a part of that process once we get past the first hurdle. But you just reminded me, I forgot to ask Elena about that today, so there's something quick.
And the season's coming up.
Yeah, like this meeting, we need to put something on. Yeah.
Michelle, did you have anything else?
I do.
Under court and town attorney, I always leave on for town attorney Finn and the extreme risk protection order cases, unlicensed dogs, and bus patrol hearings. I know she was at court yesterday for these things, so just a continuation of those things. Under fire departments, Chief Enna wanted to speak about.
Yeah, this just came to my attention this week. There's a program called Smart 911, which is actually on the town's website and also apparently on the county's website. But those are the only two entities that we're aware of in the entire county that is advertising this program. I bring it up because we had a resident that contacted us. We had to force entry into his house due to a gas leak, and they weren't home. So he was looking at alternatives to be able to give us information on how to access it without having to force entry. And he found this on the town's website and signed up for it thinking that it was going to work. And the premise behind it is that you enter in specific information. And as soon as you call 911, it populates this additional information that you add onto their screen. So we'd never heard about it before. So we started to investigate it, and it turns out that it doesn't actually work in our area. Yes. So that's kind of what the problem is.
And I told Chief Enna, I'm gonna fall on the sword on this one because remember when we were doing the vulnerable persons registry? We took that information that the county gave us to support what the county was putting out there. I'm not blaming the county. And then we just took their information and put it on our website to try to assist with that.
Yeah.
We were thinking if people wanted to have an extra, screen pop up that maybe they are deaf of part of hearing, or there was somebody with autism or any other kind of information about people who live there. So the first responders would be able to best respond to them in the safest.
Which would be awesome if that worked. It does work in other areas. If you go on their website and you look at it and you put in the 12309 area code, it'll say that it's available in 12309, but only 12309, which doesn't cover the entire town because 12304 is not available. But then when you try to sign up for it and enter it in, it ends up telling you that if you text 911, it's going to get routed to St. Lawrence County. And if you call 911, it's going to get routed to Orange County because the county UCC isn't a participating entity in our area. So there's some issues with it. However, they still encourage people to sign up for it because if you are in an area that is participating and more apparently are coming online every day, it'll give that information to whatever 911 piece app that you're going to attach to. So we did test this out with the UCC. One of my officers called and talked to a supervisor there, who was completely unaware of the program herself. She signed up, established an account, and then tried it out through the UCC, and nothing came up, no additional information. So my concern is that if people in the town are looking at this on our website or on the town's website and thinking that it's going to give this information, it could be erroneous and give them a sense of comfort that's not actually there. So I'm not saying that it necessarily needs to be pulled down from the website, but perhaps an explanation on there. And I don't know what the best course of action for you guys to do.
I think it's on the PD. That's what I was saying to the chief. I'll pull it down for now. I think the bigger conversation is why doesn't our UCC have the ability to do this?
Does it cost money to like subscribe to it or?
No, I don't believe it does.
I don't know. I can ask Kevin Swan and just say, he's going to have an answer because this has probably been brought up before.
Okay.
If this isn't functioning through our UCC.
If it can function, that'd be absolutely wonderful and it'd be a big benefit to all of our residents.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to bring it up and discuss it and just make sure it's on everybody's radar. And then also I wasn't sure if there's any type of liability issues for the town if we were advertising something that doesn't work.
Yeah, we're gonna pull. That's what I said. We're gonna pull. We'll pull it down. Okay. And then we'll follow back up with Kevin and see if there's a way to make it work. And if not, then that's what it is. Perfect. But just as a reminder to all of our residents, if you would like to add information to your physical residence address about key locations, anything that could be concerning, sometimes even, a dog that might, not like strangers, right? You can contact our non-emergency number at the UCC at 518-630-0911, and they can manually enter information into a BOLO screen for your residents. So there is another way to do this through that mechanism.
Where should they call?
The non-emergency number at the UCC. Yep. I didn't have anything specifically under the school district.
Can they give information about like resident health status and things like that? Or is this just about the physical property? They can.
It like the example you brought up, if somebody was hard of hearing or deaf or something of that nature, they can put those type of notes in there as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Under personnel, I have the permanent appointment of Officer Spencer. Officer Spencer was hired in August 2025. He is at the end of his probationary period. Had a staff meeting yesterday, speaking with his direct supervisor. He's doing great. Every time I see him, he's smiling and saying it's the best decision he ever made, which makes me feel really happy for our town. And we're looking to make him permanent as a police officer for us. Under other, the town of Niskuna event application, town code, road closures, that's ongoing. That's kind of in conjunction with the food truck conversation. I also have the acceptance of the Discovery Grant. This year, we got a letter from the attorney, Bob Carney. Last year, I think we got in the neighborhood of, I believe it was $22,000, which was a little bit less than we had gotten in previous years because of the grant structure changing. But this year, we will be getting $30,000, and that supports our discovery clerk, one of our retired members, John Serrata, that pays for that position to be there for those discovery purposes. So we're very grateful and thankful for that grant and those monies. Also, I have the Stop DWI grant, which is an annual grant that the Schenectady County Sheriff's Department applies and then divvies out the money accordingly to all the local municipalities. We got $12,750 that we need to accept. Again, this is to put out extra patrol officers out there with that primary function of hopefully stopping somebody from being impaired in driving to keep our community safe. I spoke about the vigilant MOU and how we're going to remove that. And then I just have the resolutions. I did put 3 police vehicles. I'm hoping to have the dog control officer vehicle quote, so we can put that on for this month. If I don't, we'll just push it to next month with the resolution accepting discovery grant, resolution accepting stop DWI grant, and the resolution permanently appointing a police officer. Did anybody have anything else? No? And with that, we need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
With a second. Favor? Thank you everybody for attending. Our next meeting is going to be March 5th, 2026 at 3:30 p.m.
Where's the discovery bit?
Hang on a second.
Okay. Okay.
Was it last year? Was it?
Last one was, I got the letter from me, it's like,
Yeah, did it,